You're listening to the Hire Calling Podcast, your source for all things hiring, staffing, and recruiting. I'm Pete Newsome, back again with Peter Porevsky. Peter, how are you today?
How's it going? It's good to be back.
It is good to be back. It's been a while, but here we are, summer of 2025, here to talk about what is going on in the technology hiring market. Same story, different day, or are there lots of changes?
Well, a little bit of both. There's nothing in the job market is happening that's like completely insanely changing from day to day, but there is obviously a lot of change gradually over time. AI is the huge one. I'm going to just put it out there right up front. So we're going to be talking a lot about automation, a lot about AI, because some of these changes we may have been seeing them last year or the year before, but now they're snowballing. They're hitting a really fast pace. So let's get into it.
Yeah, this podcast is about 4 years old now, and I don't think I mentioned AI on it for the first year, probably. And, well, maybe it's almost 5 years now. Time.
When did ChatGPT come out? Because
2022. So no, I think it was November 2022, and ever since then, it is becoming just increasingly important and prevalent in the job market as a whole, specifically in technology. And it's almost to the point where that is all this podcast is going to be about. And maybe that's just reality of the situation is it is so prevalent that we can't ignore it in any aspect of hiring and recruiting, and certainly not in the technology space.
Yeah, it's when we go over, we kind of look at key hiring trends for this year. Everything, even if we're not explicitly talking about AI, it's going to be colored by it. So I guess let's jump into and just kind of talk about what are the big trends, say the top 3 trends that you're seeing.
Yeah, I think there's a great way to sum it up in a tweet that I just happened to see last night. An X, is it? A tweet? An X? Can I still call it a tweet? I will.
That's why I should have never changed it, because tweets it's such a iconic thing to call it. You can call it something an X, exposition.
You can't call it an X. It's not going to work. So, but last night, the CEO of Zapier put out a message. It basically said, "We will hire anyone who is an AI automation engineer. We'll hire them right now." And there were some comments, of course, people jumping on that, and they're like, "How many years experience?" And he said, "The question is how many days." I think that's the way he phrased
exactly.
it. And so if that doesn't sum it up, I don't know what would. That's the reality of the situation. And it's also in many ways delaying hiring, I think, where companies are trying to figure out how to get their arms around it. How much is enough? How much should you be doing? How quickly should you be implementing AI? It's a constantly moving target, but it's one that everyone is trying to hit.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know we'll hit on this kind of later on as we kind of go through some things that people can do. But the fact that you said, we're measuring things in days, like it's not going to be a traditional market where you like, what is an automation engineer? Like it's not something that people went to school for. It's not something that even existed, 2 years ago, really. So these kinds of roles that people are going to have to really think outside the box as we see these companies that start to hire roles that might have titles that we've never even heard of. Something I saw the other day was a GTM engineer, which is a term I'd never heard of, which is go-to-market engineer.
Yep.
And that's like, it's all about automation, sales, operations, automation, that type of stuff. But it's not something that existed even 6 months ago, really. So seeing these new roles, this surge in, automation focused roles is really interesting. And that's going to kind of come with an emphasis that we're going to see like on the remote, the hybrid model. I know a lot of companies kind of pushed for that return to work thing, but as the market shifts and these online tools become available, like I think people are going to have to kind of find some sort of happy medium, because a lot of these roles can be done from anywhere as long as you have a good internet connection and a computer.
Yeah, companies are continuing to struggle with that, having different changing opinions even. It's continuing to evolve, but we know to some significant degree, hybrid is here to stay. At least I certainly hope that it will be. Other areas, cloud storage continues to grow. Cybersecurity, that one is hot. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon either. What about some areas that are on decline? What comes to mind there?
Uh, that one's, I kind of look at like the general web focused developers. That's, I mean, we work with a web developer, and I know that like people who kind of do everything, and the old days it would be like, oh, we have the web developer and they do everything on the website. That's kind of, I feel like, probably shifting down because people are specializing into different tools, different areas. So that's one that I think is definitely not maybe going away, but shifting into different areas.
I think that's true. I mean, again, why? Because of AI, and the same goes for what I will describe as base level technical support.
Yep.
That is, in many respects, able to be done by AI. So you need really specialization. I think that's going to be something that I would recommend to anyone in the workforce, quite frankly, but specifically in the technology spaces, have a specialty or develop a specialty if you don't have one, right? Like you mentioned, generalization. That's not going to be as valuable today as it was in the very distant past. But develop a specialization where you can leverage AI to enhance your abilities. That's going to be the key to success for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like it falls into one of two different areas. Like you either need to know how to use the tools, in which case I guess that's the where the generalists are falling. Like you need to know how to use a bunch of different tools to get the job done, or you need to be the person who maintains the tools. And that's where we get like the cybersecurity, the cloud specialists, data scientists, all the people on the back end that are actually maintaining the AI itself. So that's really the kind of, that's why we're seeing a lot of growth in those back end kind of specialist positions.
And a lot of people are struggling with that transition, I think. Individuals and companies. So we see a lot of job openings right now, but we don't necessarily see a lot of these positions being filled. If you're on LinkedIn, as most everyone is, you see a lot of people extremely frustrated with their ability to get a job. And I'm talking about experienced senior people who just a couple of years ago would have been very hot commodities in the job space. It's a tough time. It's a
Yeah.
bit of an imbalance right now that's going on. So on one hand, unemployment's low. On the other hand, we see companies like Microsoft just in the past couple of days announced another massive round of layoffs. And it wasn't because their business is down. It wasn't because of performance. I think they're just facing the reality that the technology that exists today allows you to do a lot more with fewer people, and they're just forced to take advantage of that. So it's really incumbent upon us as individuals to make sure that our skills are not just current, but are heading in the direction of where things are going. Right, skating where the puck is going, so to speak.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of crazy. I feel like, and a lot of, maybe it's people who are more stuck in their ways that are like, oh, I've done this specific thing for a long time. It's hard for me to kind of pivot and think of different areas because I don't know anything about it. But I'll go back to what you said earlier. A lot of the automation, it hasn't existed. So if you've been using these tools and a lot of this you can teach yourself, and you're open to it, and you're open to different areas, like that's going to be kind of the way to move forward. So definitely being flexible. So if I'm talking to candidates, like being flexible, looking at these new tools, trying to even as much as like teaching yourself, working on personal projects, that type of thing, that's going to be a lot, like get you a lot of the way there towards like some of these new positions. Don't think of it in terms of like, oh, I have to have a 4-year degree, so there's no point in me even looking at this.
No, I mean, if we want to talk about trends, right, which we may as well get to now, right?
Yeah.
What are the trends? What do we see, that's coming, down the pike here? And that is one of them, that degrees are becoming less important. Now, that's been trending for a while,
Yeah.
but even more so now, where if you have the right skills, I mean, look at the kid from Doge, right? Who I
Yeah.
won't say his name, but we all probably heard it at some point. Who was 19 years old and put in a position of great significance and importance. Whether he should have been or not, you could have your own opinion on. But the fact is, he was, and he was 19 years old, and it wasn't because of his degree. It wasn't because of his experience. It's because of what he could do right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know too many details about his background, but I suspect that a lot of it was self-taught, which everyone has the potential to do. And that's a trend and a recommendation that I think anyone in the IT space needs to be paying close attention to. Figure out on your own, put in the time and effort, and the rewards will be there.
Yeah, there's just so many tools out there. They're constantly popping up. I know we were looking at like a list of AI, just general kind of business ones, and then recruiting tools and stuff. And the list grows longer and longer. And half the companies I've never even heard of, because they're popping up so fast that there's so much out there to just teach yourself and to learn from. Having that mindset of like not being stuck in the way things were and how they're going to be, that's going to be crucial. So, and especially as we see, another trend, AI transforming the hiring market as a whole. A lot of recruiting companies, if they aren't now, they will be, are taking advantage of these automation tools, these AI tools. And that's going to become kind of integral to the hiring process in most companies, I'd say. So being able to understand how that works that's going to work in your favor.
Not most companies, every company, in my opinion, that wants to survive. And that adaptation needs to be imminent. If you're not doing it already, you mentioned a growing list. We just looked at that earlier today, and it's 55 AI vendors right now that we're trying to get our arms around that operate in our space, right? That's just, we're in recruiting. We pay attention to what tools are available to make that more efficient. Some of them are general, of course, but over 55. And I would bet that 50 of those didn't exist 12 months ago. So this is a state of things. And if this sounds redundant, well, it is because it is what it's all about. And I mentioned rewards a few minutes ago. I just wanted to ask if you saw that Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, of course, behind ChatGPT, was on a podcast last week, and he said that Facebook, Meta, is offering $100 million signing bonuses to their employees, their engineers.
$100 million?
$100 million, not a misquote. I'm not misstating it. $100 million. That seems impossible, yet here we are.
I've got to think that that's like a attention grabbing for headlines purposes. But I have seen some companies that are offering these like huge signing bonuses for technologies that have not been out that long. So the people who are getting them, I'm like, well, they can't be that much of an expert. They've been using it for 6 months. Like, it's crazy.
Well, if you look at how much, is involved, how big the numbers are in that space. And you have a company like Meta, who I think is they're worth, how much the cash do they have? $70 billion or tens of billions of dollars. Is it really impossible to think that they would be willing to spend $100 million for someone who could, help them gain a few percentages in market share? Right? If they thought that was possible, it seems like not that big of a number when you look at it in that from that perspective. As crazy as it seems, but maybe that's the right word, right? This is a crazy world that we're in, and we want everyone to take advantage of it who's able to listen from our own experiences. And so, Peter, with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about what we think hiring managers can do right now. We know what's happening. We know it's not going away anytime soon with AI. So what can they do to secure the talent that they need, or what are we seeing as challenges right there too that need to be overcome?
So the biggest one that I've seen recently is just how we're writing job descriptions and how we're making job postings and just putting jobs out there. So it's kind of, I guess, maybe ingrained in managers and like to give these like specific deliverables that they want and make it overly technical, when in reality, they're just trying to accomplish a goal. So rethink how they are doing these job descriptions. I think that's going to go a long way. Making it very upfront about what you expect from the role, and then putting it in just, kind of goal terms, as opposed to like deliver this thing, this much by this time. Like, I think that having overly technical jargon for an industry is probably a detriment to it. So IT managers, if you are looking to accomplish a specific project or something like that, put that in the job description and have a clear outline of what you expect over the next 6 months of this role, or the next year, what have you. Doing stuff like that is going to make it easier for somebody who might not be in your direct line. That they might not be working towards that specific position, but maybe adjacent to it, and they'll realize that this is something that they can do. Being able to cross kind of cross recruit through your job descriptions is going to be really important.
And be human in doing so.
Yep.
We're seeing so much automation and tools that are cutting out the humans from the process. And so the winners in many respects right now are those who are able to be more human versus less. So
Yep.
don't just write out a list of bullet points. Speak to the person that you're trying to hire. Engage them. Be warm in doing so. And if you're using ChatGPT or something similar for your job description, don't leave it at that. Use it as an outline if you must. Not a bad idea at all. But make sure you add personalization to it, because that's going to resonate with the employees that you want, who are craving that. We're all craving that right now. And that's always talked about, at least in terms of what kind of content you should publish. It resonates. But man, that is becoming so much more important, to not sound like a robot, when in many cases, what's being written is actually from a robot. So go the other way.
Yeah, having your job description even say like say you're building an app. We're building an app that's going to do X, and because we want to solve Y. Having that big picture in the job description, rather than just putting the different like very technical tasks that the role is going to do, is going to go a long way towards getting people to actually read it. Like you said, that how everything is kind of shifting. So having your job description read in a more natural language, easy to read way that's not just overly HR job description-y, I'll say, that's gonna be really, really helpful. And I think that's probably the number one thing I can tell a new manager to do.
And there is a widening skills gap, and so if everyone's going to be going after the same talent. We know that is happening right now too, and so you need to attract them. That's really what we're saying here. So take that part seriously, and then along those lines, take seriously the need to move quickly and to pay a competitive wage. Now, we've said that always, and anyone in recruiting will say that until the end of time. But based on some of the things we've just talked about, the crazy signing bonuses you see a company like Meta offering, that, by the way, no one can compete with, obviously, or very few companies can compete with. So we're not suggesting that you try to do that, but take care of the things you can control. Be efficient in your hiring. Don't drag out multiple interviews just because you're used to doing it that way. It's flawed. It's a bad way to operate, and the best candidates aren't going to tolerate it. They never have, but now more than ever, it's something that I highly recommend you take to heart, because they're going to move on, and then you're going to be left without the candidates you need. And we're seeing a split right now of those companies who are keeping up with technology and thriving, and those are going to be falling rapidly behind. So just pay attention to those things now more than ever. I know we're constantly saying
it's like that's something that comes up all the time. Make it moving fast on. Don't let let the better be the enemy of the good. When you're looking at candidates, this is something I've seen this literally within the last week, where managers like, oh yeah, this person's got 70% of the skills, but they're missing. They're missing 80% of them or something, and we want to hang around, and we really like them, but let's see if somebody else comes around. That's not going to fly, especially if you're like, you look at them and you realize that some of these skills are not ones that people are going to have on their resume, and they can be taught very relatively quickly to the right kind of person, somebody who's got the right mindset. So being open-minded and being able to pull the trigger quickly on those hires, that's going to be the differentiator right there. Making candidates wait around, that is not going to fly.
And along those lines, find candidates who are adaptable. Instead of trying to find that perfect candidate, look for those who are willing and able to grow and evolve and change with you, because everyone is having to change. So don't focus too much on, can they do this today exactly the way we've been doing it and think we need it done. That's much less important than, can they take us where we need to be? And do they have the willingness and skill set that they can apply to learn and evolve? And so if candidates can do that, that's worth its weight in gold. It always has been, but maybe now it's worth its weight in platinum, or Peter, I may have to say it's worth its weight in Bitcoin. Yeah. So I had to get that in. So.
I mean, like you said, we've always said you can train technical skills to people, but you can't like change who they are. So if they're a curious person and they're interested in these things and they want to learn, and they get along well with your team, and they've got the right, you can train people on all of these skills if they have the right mindset, the curious mindset, the energetic mindset that they want to take your company in the right direction. They're interested. All of that, all of the technical stuff, that's almost not important in a lot of these roles. So, and that's always been kind of the case, but even more so now. So.
And if you're struggling and you've opened your candidate pool up to a virtual workforce, if you've done all those things and you feel like your compensation is aligned with where it should be, remember, candidates today want more than just a job. They want more than just a paycheck. Yes, they want the paycheck, but they care about everything that goes with it too. Your environment, your mission. Think about the benefits that you can offer that in many ways may not cost you anything, right? There's a lot you can do. I mean, that's a different podcast. And we have lots written on that subject on our website. So please visit fourcornerresources.com and check out our blogs on employee benefits and compensation. But the perks that you can offer and things that may not cost you anything out of pocket can go a long way in enhancing your recruiting abilities.
And even if you say they're like, well, compensation is the number one thing. There's compensation areas that might not have considered, like, equity or profit sharing, where if the company does well, sure, we can pay you more. It's not just something that's guaranteed up front, though. And that gives people a little bit more of incentive to help the company grow. So there's lots of different things, like Pete said, on our website. Check it out. We've even got a salary calculator to help you see what the competitive salary is in your area. We've got lots and lots of titles on there, particularly around AI and automation. So definitely check that out, and that'll get you a good place to start.
And that's a great segue for what comes next and what we'll close with, which is when all else fails, reach out to a professional staffing company like us. Reach out to us directly. We'd love to hear from you. The recruiters like Four Corner Resources, like our team, we live in this all day, every day. And it's a great thing to leverage. If it's not us, someone else who's really good at what they do in your market or in your industry has the insight and is always willing to share, because we thrive on efficient hiring. So if we see something out of line with a client or a prospect, we want to help them make the right adjustment so our time will be well spent. In any professional staffing company who's worth their salt will approach their relationships the same way. So leverage those. It doesn't cost you anything. Have a conversation, make a phone call. So if you want to reach out to one of our professionals, we would love to hear from you. We act as a consultant, and we're very eager to share all of our expertise and knowledge that we gain being in the trenches every day.
Yeah, honestly, the best clients that we've had and the ones that we've seen the most growth with have been the ones that kind of approach it with a open mind. And they're like, well, we want to do this. And they give a final goal, but they're like, we're not sure how to get there. Maybe we need to hire this role. Maybe we need to hire that role. Maybe we need to hire more than one of that role. And having that open conversation, coming to us and letting us figure it out together. Those have been, in my mind, those have been the relationships that have done best. Those have been the clients that have built entire departments that we've helped them staff that they're doing wonderful. They have, people in roles that they didn't even come to us in the beginning with. So there's so many possibilities there if you approach, staffing and hiring with an open mind.
No doubt. Our healthiest relationships for sure. And I'm happy to say that I think our clients would support that as well. Everything you just said. There's a reason they keep coming back. So thank you for listening, Peter. Thank you as always. If you've gotten this far with us, like, subscribe, give us 5 stars, share with a friend if you think they may be interested in what we've talked about today. And we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.